Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hello, everybody. Thank you all for being here. Hope I'm coming through okay. I just realized I wasn't wearing my headphones to double check. Good to see everybody here. I see lots of folks in the chat. Again, lots of familiar faces and a couple of new ones. If you are new here, go ahead and introduce yourself by saying where you are from in the chat, and we will see where everybody is coming from in the world. Good to see everybody here. Looks like a couple of folks are up pretty late, so glad you could join. Sorry I don't do these at a better time for all of that part of the world over there. But good to see everybody. I got a couple of fun things in store for you today. And again, happy to answer questions as always. So feel free to drop questions in the chat at any point and see what we can do. I do see that, oh, speaking of, somebody already dropped a super chat and I saw my light turn blue in the background there. And another couple of changes here. I'm in a new set in my studio. I've reconfigured a few things and hopefully it makes the light color a little bit more visible now that it's up against a white wall. So thank you for that super chat. I will come pop over to the chat in a second. So you should have, if you did sign up for my email newsletter, you should have gotten an email about a half hour ago saying that with a link to this live stream. And I've now completely automated that myself. So hopefully with any luck, that's a little bit more reliable than YouTube's notifications. However, I am already seeing that some people's email servers are rejecting the email. And turns out that there is just no delivery mechanism that's guaranteed anymore. Twitter doesn't show you tweets in the right order. Facebook is a total trash fire. Email has this problem where it thinks that some things are spam and it won't deliver them sometimes. So we do what we can, but hopefully at least some of you got the email. I see that it was about 8% of them that were dropped because of the email server rejecting it. But I'll talk more about that in a minute. Looks like some people got the email. Cool. That's good. That's better than nothing. So let me go switch over to the chat here. And Simon says, Simon got the email and 2 YouTube notifications. Well, I think you might be stealing some other people's notifications because they aren't getting them. So maybe that's what's going on. There's the super chat. Raphael, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And thank you for turning that background light blue. All right, I'm going to scroll back through the chat, see if I got any questions I can get to real quick. And then I'll talk a little bit about the email situation that I've got set up. Rick says, YouTube sent out the notification as soon as I went live. That's good. And yeah, sometimes YouTube sends it out early. Sometimes they don't send it. Who knows? Maximilian says, do you know if the streaming bridge will be shipped in the next few days? The software update for its integration is now released. I saw that. I noticed. I downloaded that update. I think I talked a little bit about it on the last stream. They fixed a very minor bug with loading in the streaming settings. And I still have zero idea if or when that is going to actually ship, when they're going to actually ship it. But the software being out is a good first step there. And interestingly, the manual was updated as well. So now you can go read the manual to learn the exact features of the streaming bridge. And one of the things that I was disappointed to learn is that they did not do fancy networking tricks to get around NAT traversal. They say you have to forward ports still to get through your router. So I was hoping the reason it was taking so long was they were going to build in some fancy NAT traversal stuff that's used in VoIP and video conferencing, but it looks like that's not in store for this time around. So we'll see though, because again, it's not, I don't have it. I haven't tried it myself, but I'm just going off of what I found in the manual. And I see another super chat. Thank you, Randy. Have I started using the Blackmagic Pocket cinema camera for live streams? I actually have not, and it's because this desk is so it's streamlined for this operation, and I don't have to change the camera out. And I can still, that way I can still use my better cameras for other things. Maybe I should just dedicate the Blackmagic camera for this, like to this desk as this permanent streaming camera, because I do like it. It is really good. But yeah, yeah, I haven't figured out the right workflow for how to integrate that better into my workflow here. But thank you for the super chat. All right. Where was I in the scroll back? Before I get to some of the other questions, let me talk a little bit about what's going on here. So you might notice things look a little bit different. Oh, I just realized I forgot one of the new lights. Darn. Okay, that's gonna be too much to roll over there, I think. But I've rotated things in this room. I used to be up against that blue wall, the teal wall, and shooting into the corner where that shelf was up against that wall. And I like that shot. That was fine. But it kind of meant that the rest of the room wasn't ideal setup. So now what I've got is I'm like 90 degrees parallel to that, or 90 degrees, not parallel, perpendicular to that. And I'm shooting now the long way against this gray wall. So this is my 18% gray wall so that I can light it up any color with giant LED lights, which I forgot to set up ahead of time. And that means this is also now, that shelf is way farther back. So hopefully it gives a little bit more sense of depth there. And then I've got my little plant, which you can now actually see instead of just being in the corner. And I put a little LED behind it, so it's kind of glowing, which is fun, I think. I don't know. I'll probably change that up a bunch before I settle on the final layout of this. And then because this was just a void, I put this over here, which is actually the multi-view of my ATEM Mini, but it's being transmitted to this wirelessly. So I've got a Hollyland transmitter on that, and it's just on a little tripod, and that way, I don't know, it fills in this space. So yeah, and then you can kind of see what it looks like from this end. So this is, again, that gray wall over here, and my two monitors set up here. So kind of fun, switching things up a little bit. All right, what else we got in the chat? Thanks for the recommendation of cheap USB capture cards. I ordered mine instead of an Elgato Cam Link. Cool, yeah. The Cam Link is fine, but there's a lot of cheaper options which are almost or just as good or sometimes better. You don't need the Cam Link, that's just the brand name one. Speaking of which, I'm working on a video comparing these capture cards for this kind of thing. And I have a test clip that I'm going to be using, which I kind of been giving a sneak peek of, which I want to talk about later on this stream. What else can I get to in the chat real quick? Will a Blackmagic Video Assist receive timecode and record commands from the ATEM Mini Pro if I run a camera into Video Assist and then Video Assist into the ATEM? It doesn't receive the commands from the ATEM Mini Pro, only the camera does, only the Pocket 4K does. But as far as a time code, I'm not actually sure about that one. I'm still trying to get time code into my workflow too, because it's super cool and I don't really take advantage of it, mostly because I'm not really shooting in things that need it. But I've been trying to learn more about that. Can ATEM macros be written to control an Apple TV running NDI monitor to switch between available devices? No. So ATEM macros are really only controlling the ATEM itself. The only really thing it can do other than that is because the ATEM can send commands to cameras and the Hyperdeck, you can kind of control external devices that way, but it's really scripting the ATEM. What you would need to do to control the NDI Monitor app is find some other piece of software to send commands to that. And I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's very possible that Companion can do that, because Companion can control like everything. Johan says the email has a spam score of 4.44, so it can improve a bit to be less rejected. That's a good point. I should probably work on trying to clear up the language in there. There's a lot of things that go into spam scores though, so it's hard to tell what actually is the problem there. And it could be anything from the language I'm using to the email servers that happen to be delivering my email at the time. Yeah, who knows? So let me talk about email a little bit. As I'm sure many of you remember, I originally tried to set up a tiny letter, and that is a product from Mailgun. I believe they, or not Mailgun, MailChimp. I believe they acquired it at some point. And I went in there and I was like, this is perfect. This is all I need. Like, I don't need all the features of MailChimp. I'm not trying to set up like fancy email campaigns that are scripting. And the tiny letter was cool because it's like, you just get a little text box. You can write a message, hit send, and it goes. Great. Perfect. That's what I want. I just want to be able to send an email ahead of time that gets sent out to everybody on the list. And I had that set up. I had a form, a subscribe form, and I was like, everybody go sign up there. And then the first time I sent out the email, I believe I messed it up somehow on my end. The second time I tried to send it, I was like, cool, it worked. And then I went and realized that it was stuck in sending. And as far as I could tell, it just like was taking a long time. Turns out I did some digging and I went and contacted their support. And it had been, my account had been locked because it was new and because it was like the first email I was trying to send to like 100 people. And they didn't like that. They needed me to go through some sort of verification process. And I kept going back and forth with support and was trying to figure out what was going on. And it took so long to deal with support that I was like, you know what? I'm just going to rewrite a app that is basically like Tiny Letter. So in the time it took me to finally get this information from support, and by the way, the account's still not active, I was able to recreate the entire feature set of Tiny Letter in a little app I wrote, and it sends out through Mailgun, which is just an email API. So that is the story. So now if you go to news.aaronpk.tv, that is the subscribe form, and it is my own website, and it is something that you can subscribe. It's just one list, and then I can now send out emails to that list, and it sends them out through Mailgun because I'm not doing my own email delivery. That's a mess. And I get the like bounce reports when things bounce and things like that. So that was fun. I wrote that, and it mostly worked the first time. One of the times I again made a mistake and sent out a draft instead of a real email during one of the shows. But today is the second week in a row that it has now worked automatically itself. So that is my newsletter situation. I'm probably going to make this open source because it's a kind of a cool little app and it's very straightforward. It does not take a lot of infrastructure to run it, and it would be, I'm sure, very useful to other people. So I made it so you can, like, when you install it, you can customize all the stuff that goes into it. I guess I can just show you my screen here. This is the app. I can go and say, like, here's a new message. I'm just going to type a message here and send it. But I also can it also has an API. So that's how these are getting sent, which is basically the API is pulling my videos from YouTube. When it finds one 30 minutes ahead of schedule, it goes and sends out this email via the API, and then it gets sent. So here's, you can see, delivered 102, 9 failed, temporary fail, which means the email server rejected it for some reason. And then I am tracking views and clicks like every newsletter app does. So yeah, as to why this is getting a bad spam score, could be anything. It could be that the particular text I've used here needs to be a little bit more personalized. It could be that it just got unlucky today, depending on, like, based on the email server that it went out from on Mailgun. And then, yeah, with settings, I can go and like change all the text that appears on the different pages throughout the subscription process. So kind of fun. So I'll probably make this open source, and so that other people can use it, because I think it's a cool idea. All right, and I just saw that my background light turned yellow, so thank you very much for the super chat. And I resized my browser, and there goes the chat. There we go. Okay. That's the downside of doing this chat overlay through the browser. Question on the Raspberry Pi streaming bridge. I set one up exactly like your video, but it doesn't show up on my TV when I stream. The only thing that will show is the Raspberry Pi boot up and login. Could be a number of things. It could be a number of things. It could be like something wrong with the particular OMX player command. I think the best thing to do, let's go ahead and let me drop a link to the forum and we can troubleshoot there, because I would need to know more about what you've got going in there to set up. So let me take a look. Where did I put that? Where did I put that? Streaming bridge. It would have been in the... So if you haven't already found the forum, by the way, forum.livevideotech.today. And here is where we have all sorts of fun discussions about various things. Go ahead and post something in the support category. And then I'll be sure to take a look and we can figure it out. All right. I need to not clear out the chat when I go back to that camera. That's a macro I should fix. All right. But yeah, thanks for the super chat, and we'll take a look at the forum. Oh, let me drop a link to that forum in the chat as well. Can you use your forum to do the notifications? It's great, but it needs to grow. That's a good point too. Yeah, the forum, you can like subscribe to topics, and you'll get like email notifications when new things are posted into that like category. So I could do that, and I probably should do that as well as the email newsletter. There's a category on the forum called Shameless Plug, and that is a place where anybody is feel free to just like drop promo links to your own content there, like share your videos, your YouTube videos, or share your blog posts you've written, whatever it is. It's a place to share fun content. All right. Where was I in the chat? Move the overlays to the right side because YouTube mobile uses the left side for chat when in full screen. It's an interesting point. Yeah, we'll see. I like the full lower thing, but yeah, the full screen chat. I don't know. I don't like the full screen chat layout on YouTube though, so I'm not sure if I want to bend to its whims. Okay. Mark says, are you open to check out other Hyperdeck emulators? Sure. Let me know what you've got. Always happy to learn about new stuff. Does the ATEM Mini have the recording to solid state capability, or do you need the Pro or Pro ISO? You do need the Pro or the ISO. The Mini itself is basically just the webcam feature. That's really all it has compared to the other ones. So, I mean, it's still cool. Like, it's got all the keyers and downstream, upstream key and green screen and all that kind of, the transitions. And of course, it's a 4-input device, but it is just the webcam output. So you don't get the streaming or recording capability. Do you know how the ATEM Mini Pro encoder copes with internet speed hiccups? Does it degrade quality or video stalls? I'm asking because in the stream yesterday, I had stalls every dozens of seconds. So the ATEM Mini Pro has a cache in it, which is a very cool feature, which will let it continue to buffer and store data internally, even if the internet drops or has little hiccups. So if your internet drops, like I could actually just yank out the plug right now and then like in a second plug it back in, and you would actually not see any gaps effectively because you're already seeing a slightly delayed stream from YouTube, and then the ATEM Mini is pushing the stream up. When it gets internet back, it will quickly push up and flush the cache and try to send everything really quick. And then YouTube is able to catch back up, and then you will, I guess, be looking at it with slightly more delay after that, but you won't miss any content. So if that's not what you're seeing, like if you are seeing the stream drop, it could be that the cache isn't, it could be that your internet's so slow that the cache isn't able to help. So try streaming at a lower bit rate, or that's, I guess, basically the only option there. Have you heard about the new Feelworld L1? Reviews are popping up for it on YouTube. Yes, they are. And I've got mine sitting over there. So they sent one over to me to take a look at, and I have not yet done my review yet, but you will see one from me very soon. It's a pretty cool looking device. It's effectively a variation of the ATEM Mini. So it doesn't have the features of the Pro or the ISO. It does have the features of the Mini, and a couple of things that the Mini doesn't have, which actually are kind of cool. So I'm looking forward to finishing that video. John says the new setup looks great. Thank you. And I just missed the super chat. Thank you, Christopher. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And also thank you, Martin. Okay. Let me scroll back up. Speaking of, have you connected Hue lights to YouTube Super Chat? I sure did. That's what's going on back there. It's a Hue bulb in that lamp, and it is if this then that is doing that translation for me. Renee says the new studio setup has more room echo than before. Thanks. Yeah, I am in a completely different layout now, and we'll see. I still need to do a little bit more tuning here. Thanks though. I'm having fun trying to improve my set design here. Do you have any good ways to autoplay videos in the stream without the Hyperdeck? Hyperdeck is definitely the best way, because you can trigger it automatically from the ATEM, like when you switch to that camera. Otherwise, you have to trigger it manually. There's a handful of other good options, though. iMix 16, iMix Pro, iMix 16 or something like that. That's an iPad app that'll do it. You can load clips into the iPad, and you get giant buttons to trigger them. That's super cool. There's also like software on your computer you can get. So different software, like a lot of the software that will be switcher software will also be able to play videos, and then you can use it for just the playback feature without also using the switching functionality. Simon says, just checked out one of the third-party resellers for Streaming Bridge, and they're saying January. Woo! That's disappointing. Yeah, we'll see. I haven't heard any official word on that, so I'm hoping it's not that long, but if it does take that long, the good news is more time to set up a Raspberry Pi to pretend to be a Streaming Bridge. Which it's looking like it may be very near one-to-one functionality of the Streaming Bridge if the Streaming Bridge really does not have any fancy NAT traversal stuff in it. So, yeah. Is there any chance you might share that test stressor video clip? Yes, there is. There sure is. Let me actually show that to you right now. So I'm going to put it up on this monitor so you can see it by... I should have it on my Hyperdeck here and set that output to, now I can't see myself, but that's fine, I think. Yes, okay. So you are seeing that blurry in the background, but that's fine. This is the, let me just try to focus on that and see if I can do that. This is the stress test video clip, and it's got a whole bunch of stuff in there that does various things. And I had a lot of fun putting it together, but wow, is it a lot of work? And the point of it is to really push the limits of what a, where's my focus? There we go. The point of it is to push a video encoder to its limits. And actually, here's a good way to do this. Grab this other camera. And okay, what are you seeing? There we go. I want to show you now this camera looking at this screen because I want to zoom in on the screen so you can see the individual pixels that are going on this clip. It's very hard to represent this in video form. Oops, there we go. And especially this one, which is, yeah, this one, which I need to even get closer than that because you can't even tell. But it's essentially a grid of 1 pixel black and white alternating squares. And then it wiggles back and forth 1 pixel at a time every frame. And then pauses for a second while that one wiggles. These are 2 pixels wide. And you'll see some really weird artifacts going on here, probably. And that's because it's pushing the monitor to its max. This is coming out of the Hyperdeck down here. Zoom back out. So the Hyperdeck is playing it, running it into my little external multi-viewer here, which is also then on the... Oh, and I'm just now realizing that I didn't switch the camera. Shoot. I switched my monitor view. This is what I get for not having enough. Yep, total fail. I can't do it. I don't have the right things in the right place. Okay, let me just switch over to show you this clip on the stream. And I think I can put myself in the corner. There we go. So what's going on here is the all sorts of different kinds of tests. And you'll probably see that YouTube is munging some of them, and you're not seeing a perfect representation of what the clip should be. So they're all supposed to be very pixel perfect graphics, and you'll see that YouTube is failing to encode certain things in certain ways. So I've actually got a whole description of this now, and of what each of these little squares is doing. And I'm gonna drop a link to that in the chat. And this is something that I decided to, so I made this for myself because I'm gonna be using this in my tests, in tests that are like for pushing various encoders, and when I'm doing comparisons of different monitors or capture cards or encoders, streaming encoders, things like that. So that's the plan for that clip, is I'm going to be using it for those tests. And you can see across the bottom I had that like frame counter as well, so I can test delays of things. But that's the goal, and I figured it would also be helpful for others as well if you want to try it in your own tests. So I am making that available for download. I am selling it because, oh my gosh, it was a lot of work to create. So go take a look at that website, and it talks all about how the clip works and what each segment does. I can just share my screen real quick to show you this. This is the webpage about it, and it goes and talks about each little segment. Like, here's the color range test, here's what it's doing, here's the grayscale test. And then when they are animated, I have little animated, very low res versions of them here because I didn't want to make this page 200 megabytes to view it. But you can see what each one's doing and get a little explanation of it, which is, I think, pretty fun. So go take a look at that if you are curious and would like to use this in your own comparisons. I have resolutions created. I have versions of it created at all of these different frame rates. So that was, again, a ton of the work, was creating the different frame rates, because a lot of these animations, especially like this one, have to be created specifically at each frame rate. And I can't just like change the project frame rate and then just have it magically work, because like the little dot has to be exactly lined up. I need a certain number of these frames, all that kind of stuff. So that was a lot of fun to make that, and now I can finally finish some of the other videos that are on my list because I needed that clip in order to be able to create those videos. So that is a long way to answer yes. That is now available, and if you are interested in it, you can use it yourself. And I see a super chat that I missed from Daniel. How do you do the overlays? I have talked about this in many live streams, and the best summary of it is right now in a live stream called, it's got the chat in the thumbnail. So it's got the little overlay in the thumbnail of it. I forget the name of the video. Let me find it. It's called ATEM Mini Live Chat. This one. And that is where, somewhere in there, I've bookmarked the timestamp. Somewhere in there, I've bookmarked where I start talking about that, so you can skip directly to that. At this point, I should probably just make a dedicated video about this because I do get this question a lot. But thank you for the super chat. All right, where was I? Where was I in the chat? Is there a way to build a macro to trigger live that activate at a set time? You can probably create. Now I'm not actually sure if I've tested that. I think we did test this at one point. Yeah, you can create a macro to trigger the live stream, and I forget what it looks like. I forget what the XML is, but you just go in and like record a macro, hit the live button, and then look at the XML and see what that does. As for triggering it at a set time, you would need some other piece of software to do that. There's no timer built into the ATEM Mini, so you would have to do that from something like Companion can probably do it. And that would require, that Companion app to have the ability to run commands at scheduled times. Now that I'm saying that, I'm not sure that it does because it's based around button presses. But Companion does have the ability to be remote controlled from TCP commands or OSC commands, which means you could script it. So there was a lot going on there to get all the layers in that chain to work, but you could do it. You have to make a script that would run on the computer to send a OSC command to Companion to send that to the ATEM software. If you did have software that can control the ATEM itself, which I've had mixed success in terms of finding libraries that can talk directly to the ATEM, you could do it that way as well, but it would have to be done from a separate device. Cool. Oh, I just saw a super chat. I'll get back to this one in a second. Thank you, Iographer. What's the best workflow with the ATEM to bring my desktop screen into the ATEM and out to Atomos to record? I'm streaming with Ecamm. That's an interesting combination of devices then. So I assume if you're talking about the ATEM, you are not using the Pro or the ISO because you're streaming with Ecamm. And I guess my question is, if you are streaming with Ecamm, why would you want your desktop screen in the ATEM? Because the Ecamm can also capture your desktop screen, and it might be a little bit more straightforward to do that. Especially because I'm pretty sure you can set up a scene to record the screen as well, and you'd be able to cut out the Atomos from that as well. So I would say, interviews and much better video quality. Better video quality than... Yeah, I'm a little bit confused about the end result you're looking for here. But tell you what, if you ask this again with like the end goal in mind, and we'll see if we can come up with a good solution here. Oh wait, where was I? I was somewhere back here. This one. Just started using the ATEM Mini Pro to live stream. Audio level was low. Local recording to SSD was also quiet. Average dB recorded stream was half of video played into the ATEM. Any ideas? Audio level, and you've checked all the audio levels on the ATEM itself, I assume. Look, if the local recording was quiet, that means the program recording was quiet. So it could be that I haven't seen any weirdness in the audio, really. So, like, I've only seen audio stuff in the ATEM has worked fine for me. So I'm just looking at mine right now. And, I mean, I guess just make sure that, like, these are all set at 0, because that would definitely, like, that, right? You're going to hear nothing for a second there. But other than that, I can't think of anything that would cause that. Oh, I guess if you're using the mic input, here's the one thing. If you're running audio into the mic jacks, you could have it set at the wrong mic or line level. So you can choose, here it is. You can choose mic or line, and that could cause it to sound quieter. But that's only if you're bringing audio into the analog jacks. Okay. Let's see if we got a follow-up. Archive copy is the end goal to cut up for social, etc. So if you're trying to get ISO, you're basically trying to get isolated recordings of each source. Is that the idea? If you are doing that, then, I mean, ATEM Mini Pro ISO is basically made for exactly that. I can't say enough good things about that. I actually recorded a video on it yesterday. Not even live streaming. I was just using it to be able to record this camera, my desktop, and my in the program, because I was demoing. I'm actually doing a video about how to get the little circle overlay, since I keep getting that question a bunch. So I recorded that on the ATEM Mini Pro ISO yesterday, and it was the easiest way to just get all of those feeds recorded without that many wires at all, because it was my computer, a camera, and that was really it. Oh, I did use the Hyperdeck to record the multi-view layout so that you can see the multi-view in the video too. So that's probably the most complicated thing. They use 3 cameras into the ATEM, mixer into the ATEM, out to Ecamm, virtual cam to stream to Zoom, and then they want to upload a high quality file to their online class software afterwards. You know what? If you're not worried about being able to re-edit this, if you're happy with, like, if the stream into Zoom is fine, honestly, the quality you get from recording from Ecamm itself, recording its program feed, is probably good enough. Like, I don't think it's going to be worth the trouble of going through the extra hoops to improve the quality over what Ecamm records. What Zoom records is going to be absolute trash. Don't use the Zoom recording. But if Ecamm can record the thing that it's feeding into Zoom, that's going to be good enough. And I wouldn't go through any more trouble beyond that. Stefan, thanks for the super chat. How do you monitor your own audio and do modifications in the audio area of the ATEM at the same time? It's not easy. So I have headphones plugged into my little monitor on the desk. So this monitor has a little headphone out, and then I wear the headphones, and then I go into the desktop app and go start messing around with the audio. The reason I say it's not easy is because I have to listen to myself on a delay in order for that to work. In fact, and there's no way to undo it because I'm running my audio through my camera. Because I'm listening to myself on a delay, it's very distracting to try to change these settings. So a little bit easier than that is to do a bunch of test recordings, and it takes a long time. So do a test recording and then play it back and then make a change, do a test recording, play it back. It's tedious. So it's a lot easier when you can record somebody else. I guess you could, now that I'm saying this, fun trick you could do is, because I'm using my camera to run the audio through the camera, I could record on my camera, just myself talking for 5 minutes, and then play back from the camera into the ATEM, and then make all the adjustments there, which that sounds like a lot more pleasant of an experience. And I might have to do that to try to tune this new layout for this. So thank you for the question, because that gave me a very interesting idea for that. All right. I'm getting behind here. You all are bringing very good questions. I want to make sure I didn't forget anything else I wanted to talk about. Yeah, okay, I talked about the email newsletter. I talked about my new stress test clips that are available. Okay, we talked about that. We talked about, Here's a question. Is it possible to change streaming bitrate settings during the broadcast without stopping my stream? Not really. It does not like that. So that is, yeah. Once you're streaming, you're streaming. You have to stop the stream in order to change it. If you do have your YouTube set to not auto stop, then if YouTube stops getting video for like a couple of seconds, it won't end the stream. And if you then send it video again at a different bitrate, it will pick it up. It may not be super happy about it, but it should work. Just notice I got a triple notification, one from YouTube email, one from your notification bell, and one from the active notification setting because you showed up in my timeline. Nice. Sometimes YouTube really wants to make sure you don't forget about a stream. Does your ATEM Mini get hot on the bottom when live streaming? Yeah, it's not like unreasonable. Let me see. This one is, yeah, it's hot. I don't know. It's not like going to burn me, but the little stand that I have over here, let me see if I can show you the little stand for the other one. I have one up here for the, oops, geez, there it is. I have a stand for one of these that sort of like makes it so I can actually use both at the same time. And that means that this one's not on the desk. So this one is a little bit, got a little more able to cool itself because the bottom's not up against the bottom of the desk. But this one is the one that's actually streaming. I don't know, it's warm, but it's not like, it doesn't feel dangerous. Facebook recommends a streaming bitrate of 4,000, which corresponds to the ATEM's low quality. If you stream at a higher quality bitrate, will Facebook just downscale to 4,000? Probably. I don't use Facebook, unfortunately. It's going to be doing some re-encoding, I'm assuming, always. So I think they're going to just re-encode to whatever they want at the end of the day. What is the best streaming software for the Mac? I don't know what the best one is because I try to use hardware encoders rather than software encoders. And there's a couple of really good options. There's a lot of different factors, I would say. So even if you did know what the best one is, you may not be able to afford it. So that's something to keep in mind. I would say, like, if you are using a Mac to stream, start with OBS because it's free. I don't think it's the best, but it is very powerful and you can do a lot of stuff with it. It's sometimes hard to use, but it's free. So that's a good place to start. Stefan says, German resellers are saying 3 to 4 week delivery time. Interesting. Okay. I wonder where they're getting that. Are you using a HDMI splitter to get the multi-view on the monitor in the background? No, I'm not actually. It's all a chain. So let me go back to this camera. The ATEM Mini. Oh, geez. Oh, I'm glad that wasn't the transmitter. That was my camera battery falling off of the stand. The ATEM Mini is feeding this monitor. This monitor goes out to this transmitter. This transmitter has a pass-through. So it's got in from the monitor out to this monitor. Because I don't really need it, but I do like to have the bigger version of the display up here too. And now I should plug in. This battery fell off the stand. I need a better rig. I really do need a better rig for this little side camera. Yeah, the Velcro strap is not quite as strong as that battery is. Cool. Walter says, how to record when the USB-C is connected to the computer? You can't. It's one or the other. There's only one USB port, and it can't do both things at the same time, unfortunately. Oh, I see everybody else in the chat already answered. Ronald says, I use the same mini Rode mic as yours. Oh, that's funny, because I actually use the Movo microphone, not the Rode. I like the sound of the Movo mic better. It's, I don't know, it sounds better with my voice. But I have on recordings a phasing sound on my voice. Is this an audio setting? Record on high settings. Live, the audio is fine. That's bizarre. I have no idea what's going on there. No idea. I'm not an audio expert. Go check out Curtis Judd. Ask him. He is doing a stream again today, I believe at 11 my time. So 15 minutes from now. He is an audio guy. He would be able to tell you what's going on a lot better than I can. So go check out his channel. Let me drop a link. And I don't promise that I will. I thought I saw his video on here. Now I don't see his live stream. I thought I saw a scheduled live stream from him. Well, anyway, here's his channel. Andre says your chat overlays give some flexibilities. Oh, about making a tutorial for the chat. I kind of want to package it into a browser extension before I do a tutorial on it, because I don't like having to tell people to first install a different browser extension and then copy and paste a bunch of code. I should be able to make a browser extension that just does this. Also, the annoying thing is once this is set up, I then, like, this is now what my computer looks like. So, like, when I go to someone's live chat pop out, even if it's not mine, this is what I see, because it's restyling the entire window. And it's kind of annoying that, like, when I'm watching somebody else's live stream, I'm stuck in this layout. Otherwise, I have to go, like, disable all the custom styles that are in here. So I want to make it an extension so that you can just, like, right-click and then, like, turn it off or whatever, right? So you can disable it when you don't actually need it. Can the ATEM Mini Pro ISO work to live stream a program already made and also be able to put some commercial and promos that are not in the original program? Sure. I mean, you can, any video source that you get can be put into the ATEM Mini Pro ISO. So you need something to play back the recorded stream, either like the Hyperdeck or other HDMI players. And then you need some way to insert the commercials, right? So you don't need to use cameras with the ATEM Mini Pro. They can be other HDMI sources. So that's like how you're seeing my computer screen. That's just coming in through HDMI, and lots of lots of different ways to handle that. Andre says, how do you find the Sony RX0 that you have used in the Doomsday? Do you find it useful? Yeah, I've had that for a while. That's the little teeny tiny one. I'm not as excited about it as I want it to be. I think the main reason is because the aperture is fixed at 4.0, so it's locked in, which means your ability to adjust exposure is then shutter speed and ISO. But I want to keep the shutter speed at 60 if I'm shooting in 30 frames per second, probably. So then I really can only adjust the ISO to change the exposure. The other problem is that it does not do continuous autofocus. So if I have it set down somewhere and then I pick it up and like turn it to point at me, I have to readjust the focus. It does autofocus if you like push the shutter button down halfway, but it doesn't do continuous at all, not even poorly. So it's really limiting for that. So I haven't used it nearly as much as I thought I would, but as a better version of a GoPro, it's great because it is waterproof. It is a million times better video quality than a GoPro. So you can like dunk it underwater and like throw it around. It's super tough. So I do like it for that kind of thing. But it hasn't been as useful in like my studio as I would have liked it to be. Although now that I'm saying that, maybe I should just like stick it up in the corner on a wireless transmitter or something and use it like that. Would you recommend getting a Stream Deck to complement the ATEM Mini Pro ISO, and is it true I can control the ATEM macros with it? Absolutely. That is what I'm doing right now. So I actually have a... I did that again. Okay, I need to just stop doing that. Clearly, I do not have this workflow figured out with this little roving camera. What I wanted to do, was to show you the Stream Deck on my desk. And to do that, oh my gosh, what a mess. You can kind of see, you can see that in my multi-view, what I'm fiddling with right now, gosh. So to do that, this is what I was trying to show you. This is the Stream Deck. So I have buttons that most of these are actually running macros. In fact, I think all of them run macros. So some of them actually run macros on both ATEMs. So like this one will output, this one switches the input on my main ATEM and also changes multi-view to multi-view in the other ATEM. Is that true? Yes, it is. There it goes. So now you're seeing the multi-view out of the second ATEM, and in the ATEM itself, my main ATEM switched over to the input for this one. And I can switch back to main camera, which then runs it's running a macro that also clears out the chat, which I'm now thinking I should undo because I want to leave the chat on when I change the camera angle most of the time. I'd love to see a video about iMix 16. That's a good idea. I've only played around with it a bit. I haven't actually like done a proper video about it, but that's a good idea. Whew, okay, the chat just jumped. Can I remote control ATEM Mini Pro with iPad? You can. So the app for that is probably what you want to do is the one called Strata Macros, and that is a application for running macros on an ATEM. That's all it does basically, and that's probably the best way to control the ATEM from an iPad. There is an app called oh, it's also Strata. It's like Strata Lite or something, and it will give you like the program buttons of like choosing program inputs and all that, but it doesn't give you all of the functionality that the software control like on the desktop has. So it ends up being really limiting, and it's easier to create macros to do all the things you actually want to do and use the macro version of the app. Martin says, do you know if the Raspberry streaming solution would work on the same device as PlayOutB? Raspberry is a streaming target to record locally as I'm using the USB-C for webcam. I think it should. I think there's enough CPU in there to do it with the Raspberry Pi 4 at least. It should be able to do both. And especially for trying to, yeah, using the Raspberry Pi to record that stream. Okay, where was I in this chat? I need a little bit of water. Julian says, any idea why they put a green LED on the side of the HDMI on the ATEM Mini Pro ISO? I noticed that, and I have no idea, and I have not opened mine up to find out why. Just have a Stream Deck for a couple of days now. That's a great piece of equipment in combination with the ATEM. It is. It is. Like, I can't say enough good things about it. Definitely. Did I just double up? I see some repeated messages. Yes. So, yeah. Use it to run macros. I think that's probably the best thing. The reason I like running macros with it is because I can the macros run faster. So if you have a whole bunch of actions to do, like changing a whole bunch of key settings, then it's faster if the ATEM does it compared to having the companion send all of the individual commands. The only time I don't use macros is when I'm like trying to send commands to both ATEMs or doing like two drastically different things, or if it would be like two things that are just simple switch commands that would be like more work to record a macro and maintain the macro. But that's kind of how I've been using it. I made an 8-hour stream using the ATEM Mini. The heating was fine the whole time. That's good. Yeah. Your new setup is more noise sensitive when you touch something on the desk. Oh, well, I haven't picked up the ATEM before. Like I was actually lifting it off my desk to feel the bottom. Normally I just like tap it. So I should try to find a way to isolate this a little better, but right now it's, I guess the microphone's on a pole bolted to the desk, and it's only on a little sort of small shock mount. So maybe I could do a little better there. This mic is the Movo VXR10, and it's this little... Let me try to get my camera pointing at it without having everything fall apart again. It is that. Oh, multi-view. Which one is that one? 2. So it's this little thing. And it's on this arm. I think I'm going to change the way I've got it mounted because it's a little bit chaotic. But this is the mic, and it's just plugged in directly to the camera back there. I like it a lot. It sounds good. It sounds, I think, better than the Rode Video Micro. But that is, again, my opinion, and also it is different for people depending on their voice. I saw a super chat from Raphael. Philips Hue as a tally light with eCam. Any thoughts? Interesting idea. I don't know what it takes to connect the Hue and eCam. I haven't tried eCam enough to figure that out. But the Hue is very responsive, so it probably will work fine. Like it responds almost instantly once you send a command to it. Like if I took out my phone and started controlling it, it's great. So yeah, I think that would be fine. It's assuming there's a good connection between eCam and Hue, which I again have no idea what that would take. All right, coming up on the hour, but I'll take a few more questions here. Recently got the older video assistant, finding out newer SD cards have compatibility issues. That device is very picky about SD cards. I have also had noticed the same thing, and it's very frustrating. So I would definitely try it until you can find one that works. Really, that's the best I've found. I have one that I marked as this is my video assist SD card, and I don't use it for anything else, and it just lives in there because it's very picky. Interesting idea. Do you know where to find macros to download? I haven't seen any. I haven't really looked, I guess. If you do want to share macros, feel free to drop them on the forum because that is a great resource. I'll drop a link in here to this resources category. Share your ATEM macros. And take a look there. That'd be fun. I will say that it's often not that much more work to just go make the macro yourself. So, especially because a lot of the times it's very dependent on your particular setup and what you've got plugged in. So there's only some things that would actually be more efficient to download from somebody. And I see a super chat from Stretch. Thank you very much. Would you start with the ATEM Mini and Stream Deck combo or go for the ATEM Mini Pro ISO? I want the ISO, but it's 3 times the price. Well, Stream Deck is useful for all of them. The Stream Deck is just all around a great device. I wouldn't not get the Stream Deck if you're getting the ISO, if that makes sense. The ISO is super cool because it records every feed at the same time. And I've been using it for doing these videos, like my edited videos on YouTube, because I can record everything at the same time if I'm sharing my computer screen, which is super great. But if you don't need that feature, you don't need the ISO, and the Pro is just as good as the ISO except for the recording feature, or the simultaneous recording feature. So I would probably, if you're going to be doing streaming online, not just through video conferencing software, would probably get the Pro because streaming from that is, in my opinion, better than streaming from a computer. And thank you for the super chat. Okay, where was I? Patrick says, what language do you do your web development in? You're not going to like the answer, I promise. I write JavaScript if I have to. Plain JavaScript. No libraries if I can avoid it. If I have to use a library, it's going to be jQuery. I write CSS by hand because that's what it's for. I'm not going to use any CSS pre-processing stuff and add a bunch of complication to that tool chain. And server-side code is primarily PHP because it is good enough and very easy to deploy. I don't have a lot of time to fuss with build chains and Docker containers and stuff, so I try to keep it simple. Okay. I think something is wrong with my chat view. I think something is sending messages in here twice. Unless all of you are just repeating your questions, which is very distracting in that case. Thank you, Steve. Thank you for the super chat. All right. Patrick says PHP for life. Yes. It just gets the job done. Okay. If I missed, I'm declaring bankruptcy on some of the chat up there because I think something is wrong with the way with this viewer. This is an interesting one. Any help you can give on recovering the ISO files after the ISO has crashed? I haven't had mine crash yet. I thought they were supposed to be pretty good about not requiring clean shutdown. Maybe that was just the Pro, but I remember Grant demoing just yanking out the hard drive mid-recording, and it was fine. It didn't even skip a beat. But that may not have been the ISO. Is the ATEM USB webcam output quality lower than the HDMI, and is it bad to do basic stream via YouTube? The USB webcam output is definitely different than the HDMI output, and it's also going to depend on what you're feeding it into in your computer. So it's probably good enough because that's what it's for. And that is how you use it when you're using it with video conferencing software. So I've been using it with Zoom and other web-based video conferencing platforms all the time. I use it as a USB webcam in the browser, and it's fine. It's some of those softwares, some of those pieces of software will downscale it to 720, but that's that software doing it. It gives a 1080 feed to the computer. Simon, the eCam with Hue as a tally light, did they want to use an ATEM? You could use Stream Deck with if this then that to toggle Hue lights. I would not trust if this then that for that kind of thing. That platform, it's got a bunch of delays built into it. It's not real time. So I would not trust it for real time tally. Brian says, oh, I missed a question or something. Okay. Is it possible when doing live sports to have a live clock countdown in graphics? Yeah. So with the ATEM, the best way to bring that in is probably going to be using this software called H2R Graphics, because it's got that built in. It's got timers and countdowns, all that stuff built in. And this is something that I don't have any video. I don't have specific tutorials about this, but John Barker from Here to Record, his channel is full of tutorials about how to use this. So definitely go check out that software. But it's got countdowns and all that jazz built in. Is there a way to use an Ubuntu server instead of a Raspberry Pi? I'm trying to make it work without luck. Yeah, totally. I use the Raspberry Pi because it's a device that you can buy that is very cheap, that is also very consistent when everybody is buying it. So it's good for tutorials. If I was to make a tutorial on Ubuntu, I would have to cover so many more edge cases because everybody's server is going to be a little bit different or already have stuff on there. But with Raspberry Pi, I can just be start with this image, do this step and I know exactly what is going to happen at the other end. But everything that I did in that tutorial is absolutely doable on an Ubuntu server or probably any other server as well. But again, if it's not working, the number of reasons is very large and very dependent on the specific versions of stuff you're using and all that. So that's why I did it on the Raspberry Pi. Thanks for joining, John. jumping ship to Curtis Judd. I guess he is starting. So if you are interested in audio questions, go right now over to Curtis Judd's channel. He is doing a live stream. Oh, I was looking at his other channel. That's why. I dropped a link to his main channel. He's on his Curtis Judd audio channel right now. And that makes more sense. Curtis Judd audio. There he is. Today's stream, he has a guest, wireless audio for video. So go check that out if you want to get your audio questions answered. Cool, but I'll keep going on this chat in the meantime, but I'm going to defer all audio questions to Curtis now. So don't ask them here. Okay, where was I? Tried on my ISO to unplug SSD during recording, worked fine. Cool, okay. So I guess it depends on how it crashes is the answer. Maybe if the ISO itself crashes differently than just a disk being pulled, maybe that is different. Yeah. I've noticed this problem. This is a real trick. And this is, I had the same problem with this exact setup. So you can see on my multi-view, right? This is my computer screen, this one, which is actually the same thing that I'm looking at here. And before I had it set up the way I have it now, I was having this exact same problem of, well, if you move your mouse over there, sometimes it's really hard to see the tiny cursor on the tiny screen, so you lose it. And that's why I set this up, which is, can I readjust this camera to show you again? Hopefully the battery lasts now that I'm on battery power. So what I've got here is this computer has an HDMI out. It's too down there to grab, but it's got a little USB-C to HDMI dongle, but it has two HDMI ports on it. And the Mac sees it as one display. So if I go up to my display setting, the Mac sees only one external display, but it sends the same thing out both HDMIs. So I've got one HDMI feed going into the ATEM, and the other HDMI goes into this monitor. And that way I can see full size what is being sent to the ATEM Mini. So it's kind of like if the ATEM Mini had a pass-through output that I could use for that, that would have been easier than finding this special dongle. But this works, and it means that I can see full size whatever is being sent out to the ATEM Mini. Hopefully that helps. Cool. All right. I want to use the multi-view and still get a great output to vMix. Oh, I lost track of what we were talking about with that question. Sorry. Oh, that was not a reply. Okay. Lots of good conversations happening in the chat that I'm losing track of. Great. Okay. What does it mean if my data rate displaying on the multi-view is lower than the bit rate in my output settings? Great question. So I'm not streaming from the other one, so I can't show the multi-view, but maybe you can see it on this screen. My data rate here is 6.14, 5.93, 6.04, 5.85. It's fluctuating, right? It's hovering around 6. But if I like, let me do something to demonstrate this. If I change my mask on my downstream key, yeah, here's what I want to do. To cover up a whole bunch of the, let me see if I can sneak that into the frame now. It's working. It's working. Okay. So because a whole bunch of this frame is now covered by the computer screen that is not moving, the data rate is now lower because there's less data to encode. Like it can get you the picture with less bits because all of that stuff on top is not moving. So as soon as I go back and mask the rest of that, and now more of the picture has like moving video, the data rate's going to go way back up because it takes more work to encode this. So this is variable bitrate encoding. The idea is that the ATEM Mini is going to be using only the, oh, look at my background. Thank you. I'll take a look at that in a second. The idea that the ATEM Mini is going to be using only the amount that it needs in order to encode the signal and not waste data. So it could send a straight 6 megabit the whole time, but that'd be wasting a lot of bits, right? So it's variable. So when you choose a bit rate in the encoder, it's like, that's what it's targeting. And it tries to do its best to stay there, but it will drop down if it needs to, which is also one of the reasons why in the YouTube studio, you'll see it often complain about your bitrate being too low when the ATEM is not sending it a full 6 megabits, because YouTube is like, well, what are you doing? And ATEM's like, well, I don't need to send you 6 megabits in order for you to get this image, so I won't. So they kind of fight on that. All right, where was that super chat? Who turned it red? I don't know who turned it red. Here's one. Thank you, Buena Films. It must have been that one. And if this and that just got the color wrong. Thanks for the super chat. Appreciate it. It's more cost effective to pay for the Stream Deck app instead of buying a Stream Deck if you have a couple of iPhones. You pay for it yearly, but it's cheaper than buying multiple decks. True. That is true. However, I would argue that's not the best option because I really do like the physical buttons. Like, it's different pressing physical buttons than it is finding the button on the screen where it's just a flat surface. Also, you have to charge the phones, and the Stream Deck, the USB thing, is powered via USB. So I still think that the decks have advantages. But yeah, they're not cheap. Jeremy says, I use ESP32 with MQTT for... There goes my camera. Battery died because the battery fell off. Post coming to the forum soon for the last few months. I would love to see that. Definitely post on the forum when you have that written up. The forum is, since I think the link posting is blocked. So I'll drop a link to the forum again. Cool. All right. I'm definitely losing track of the chat. However, we are well over an hour now, and I've steamrolled all over Curtis Judd's stream. Hopefully all the audio people have now hopped over to his stream and are not listening to me blabber on. But yeah, I should bungee those batteries. I should do a lot of things. I should actually properly get a little clamp that I can rig up to the little cage I have on this camera, because that would be a lot more secure. I just didn't have the right parts here today. Michael says, you still have the YOLO box, must try with an ATEM Mini Pro on Thursday. I do still have the YOLO box. What's on Thursday? I don't know what Thursday is. I've been thinking about trying a stream from... Which way? Trying a stream about the YOLO box where I would want to show you the screen of the YOLO box, which means I'll be using the ATEM Mini to stream, and then it would... but that way you'll be able to like show you how the YOLO box works. Anyway, the new software is... the software update they did for it is super, super awesome. So like the stream I did from the YOLO box in the smoke, you saw some of the like me using the screen there. It's completely different now, and it's so much better. So I can't wait to talk about that on in a video at some point. But yeah, super cool, super good update. Get a power junkie. Is that a battery? This is the battery I have, but it's too big, and I should probably get a smaller one for it. But this thing means the camera lasts forever. I just need to actually like, I have that clamp with a tripod screw on it. I just didn't have it here today. All right. I think we're going to wrap it up here, but thanks for the super chat. Moving on, appreciate it. Hopefully answered some questions today, talked about some fun things. I kind of like having this in the background, although I'm not happy with the way it's mounted, so I'm going to try to work on a fix for that soon. But I want it on a light stand, like a rolling stand instead of a tripod, but I am trying to find a Visa mount for a light stand. I found one, it's by Impact, and it's out of stock everywhere. So I don't know why. Maybe just nobody buys them, but a Visa mount so I can screw that monitor onto it and then properly clamp it to the light stand. And I have one on wheels so I can roll it around. So I will hopefully be able to rig that up soon. But yeah, hopefully you like the new set design. I've been working on it. Maybe next time I'll have some fun lights on this wall so I can turn this wall different colors. I'll probably have to move this in order to do that, but I have some, I've been doing some other videos for other projects where I have used this wall and lit up in fun colors. And I will also have a video soon about the lights I've been using to do that, which are from GVM, the new 50RS that they sent me. So gonna take a look at those and do a proper video about those lights as well. All right, with that, I think we're gonna end it here. Make sure you do go subscribe. I have a newsletter if you want to get updates about the live streams. I'm gonna also send out a post when I post my next video, which is hopefully coming soon. And that will be about, my next video is probably gonna be the one that's a tutorial on how to get the little circle picture-in-picture like that up in the corner. And that way I can answer that question for people by dropping a link to that. So that'll be fun. Anyway, thank you all for joining. Have a great rest of the day.